Good morning. Today's teaching is Lecha, send me on my way. There are only two stories. One, a stranger comes to town. Two, a son leaves his home. When we embark on a trip, we can type in the address where we're starting from and then type in the address of where we're going to. The GPS then gives us very specific directions on how to get there. If you use a good app, like Waze, it'll give you two routes to choose from, and it will tell you exactly how long each route will take you to get there. As you proceed, the app will alert you to speed traps, roadwork, and detours. Not so in biblical times. In this week's Parsha, Lech Lecha, go to yourself, or more directly, find your authentic self. God tells Avram to go forth from your land, your birthplace, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. Could God be any more vague? And who's this Avram anyway, that we should take an interest in his travel schedule? He's mentioned as the son of Toyrah in the previous Parsha. Toyrah took his family to go from Ur to the land of Canaan, and they came as far as Haran and settled there. And Toyrah died in Haran. That's chapter 11, 31 and 32. Toyrah failed to reach his destination. He lived to a ripe old age of 205 years. What we can easily glean from this is that Toyrah was not much of a goal-oriented person. He settled rather than persevere. And then his son picks up the mantle and gets a major push from the Almighty to get a move on. And this reminds me of a Talking Heads song. We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. Taking that ride to nowhere. We'll take that ride. But why the vague notion of the destination and the specificity of the place of departure? When we leave a place, we focus on where we're going to, not where we're leaving from. Torah never wastes words. Every word, every phrase is there to tell us something. We know that the entire Torah is replete with threes, and here's a threefold list that defines Avram's departure. Rabbi Simon Jacobson writes that before we can know who we truly are, we need to know where we came from. The land is our self, our self-love, our biases, that blind spot that comes from subjectivity. Your birthplace is the influence of our parents, and your father's house is the social influences in your life, including social norms, advertising, fashion trends, and the trappings of popular culture in general. Our lives are filled with leavings. We leave the heavenly realm to incarnate into this earthly life with our parents, caregivers. Then we leave for school. Then we leave for summer camp. Then we leave for college. There's a pain each time we leave our caregivers, our home. We inherit our parents' DNA. We're influenced by their behavior, their reactions to the variety of curveballs that life throws at us. However, they're not always the healthiest responses. It's one thing to walk out the door, but quite another to drop the behaviors and attitudes we absorbed while living in the land of our fathers. The three places that God instructs Avram to leave represent these deep-rooted qualities. Rabbi Sachs writes, God needs us to fight the destructive fire within the human heart. Avram sees the beauty of the natural world and knows that there's a source beyond the physical. Also of note is his very name, Avram. Avram contains the word Av, Hebrew for father. Rabbi Sachs translates his name as mighty father. What we read of Avram in the Torah is not about his childhood like with Moses, but his role as a father. Indeed, he's the father of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. God is telling Avram to leave the old ways of his family and his tribe and to parent himself in order to create a new perspective in life. Avram hears the voice of the one God telling him to drop the old ways of multiplicity and to see the unity behind nature and to honor the sacred implanted within it. And what are the vagary of the destination, a land that I will show you? When we take on the inner work to find out who we really are, we don't know where we will wind up in life, what adventures and challenges await us. Following the path of authenticity requires stripping away our masks that make it easy to fit in with our peers, to blend in with the mainstream. I went to public school dominated by non-Jews, including many outwardly Jew haters. Are you a Christmas or a Hanukkah? The answer to that question sealed my fate that continued right through to high school graduation. My religious school training, Jewish religious school training, focused on the Holocaust, which reinforced the feeling that being a Jew was and is truly a liability. What was the point, I thought? So I floundered in a feeling of otherness and fear, yet not connecting with the richness of what Judaism had to offer. Fortunately, I had the blessing of a spiritual experience at Hebrew-speaking summer camp when I was 10. One Shabbos, our rabbi instructed us to go out into the woods and hold our private prayer service. So I carried my little paper siddur into the woods, far away from any other campers, to a place overlooking a flowing stream. I looked up through the trees and rays of light shone through the evergreens. Tiny diamonds were dancing on the surface of the water. It was a defining moment for me, a real epiphany. The magic of that moment stays with me to this day. God imprinted God's self in me in a physical way. As important as this experience was, once I returned to my non-Jewish world, that joy left me. In high school, I started looking for a spiritual path. I read various books and discussed spiritual ideas with a trusted friend. In college, I went to all sorts of lectures espousing promises of great things. I remember attending a lecture for soul travel, and I asked, "Hey, can I get an excursion rate?" Presenter didn't find that very funny. So off I went to another teacher. These spiritual groups just didn't work for me. Oddly enough, my main complaint about every group was it wasn't Jewish enough. It wasn't Jewish to begin with. That little yid inside me was kicking, trying to find her way to her rightful place, to the place where the supernal I would show me. And I went looking for love in all the wrong places, as the song goes. But that epiphany that I had in summer camp lay hidden deep inside my neshama. It wasn't until life became unbearably difficult for me that I was drawn back to Judaism. And once back, I made it my own. It's tough leaving the forces that have shaped us unless we value our connection to our higher source more than the acceptance and approval from our family and society at large. As difficult as that is, we have to be courageous and strong to stay true to our belief that our land, our birthplace, our Father's house, and life unfolding has us leave will ultimately bring us to our promised land. Tifarti.